One of the ways that we see how close um, the House of Windsor was to the Beatles is in the way that the British Foreign Legion influenced the military strategy in psychological operations being run here in the 60s as an opium war complementing the war in Vietnam, in which John Lennon was in charge and was paid for his services by the Houdini evacuation the Pentagon Disney arranged that I have described and documented in my blog work, Story Checks Out Award. Yoko Ono's hypnography held domain at the school in Pittsburgh where the Green Party was insufferable, Carnegie Mellon University. It operated out of Foucault's pretenses at UW Dialectical. And they, through connections through proxies like Tammy Simon to the Dalai Lama. The idea was that there was a spiritual, theological, moral law bringing karma for abortion and the AIDS attack, and that you could find your way to this spiritual discovery and seek penitence and work in pardon in the body system of Obama by metamorphosing into an androgen. And this is making holy fathers of the transvestites, particularly the ones in martial law society who served in Iraq, who policed speech in UW. Now, having said all that, it asks for verification. Well, it can't be verified. However, the COVID, Cohen's video, which signified absolute fall, was of a 19-year-old who tomatoed me in the face with her virginity for McCartney. And it's important because the idea of the metamorphosis and the androgynous deity has origins in, for example, the Greek epics of Ovid. And one of the reasons these aren't being taught in school is because the national security neocons want to conserve awareness of the deeper metaphysics for their own projects. Foucault was an ultra-class sadomasochist who vibrationed his spinner beanies into the elite sectors of tattoo society in godforsaken Seattle. And this allowed Vietnam War veterans, for example, extreme right-wing people to easily infiltrate the so-called left on the streets through the synergy of David Bowie with G. Gordon Liddy and the celebrity superstate, the pretzel wow of Warhol, who would do everybody, who was famous, with Brian Eno's wizard kit. And they came up with the idea of tuning in, plugging into this Ovid androgynous electricity and using it as what Frank Herbert called a semuta, which is a super intoxicating music as the latter-day minstrels of Sobibor, who would greet the meat merchandise at the gate and lead them to the Himmelschweg, which was the path to heaven, which was the gas chambers. And this was the Beatles' entire role. It was their entire role to make divine overdose spirits so that they could guidance by their sacred martyr. And there are ways that we know this. For example, Sean Strubb being outside the Dakota, if you look into him, before I had even identified him, I was tipped off about him by an Italian researcher. I had profiled a suspect. I said he's somebody in the Green Party who is Jewish from the Holocaust survivor community, who gave himself AIDS as Foucault did in masochistic metaphysical notoriety. There's a movie of a kid who injects himself in Cuba. Then you could see Seattle licky chops at the pawn shop about this kind of thing. They're giving me Parkinson's and stuff. They're crypto sadists, extremely criminal minds in Seattle's Council of the Elders. You know, people like Bruce Hatter, the mayor. And he gave himself AIDS. He's in the Jewish Holocaust survivor community, and he's in the Green Party movement. And lo and behold, somebody matching that description with the first name of Sean. Remember, they used Mark in the text for Mark Twain and Mark David Chapman and Mark Manson, the Mark Man symbolism. Mark Manson, like man. Well, anyway, Straubald, his name, lo and behold, was outside the Dakota with Mark Chapman and John Lennon to take the pass, the lateral pass from the Croquette to Specker to march her banner, liberty leading the stupid into Valhalla. Outside the Dakota, he was the first person interviewed after the Houdini. And he has the same initials as Burston, S-T-R-U-B, like Strawberry Fields Forever, Strawburst. And now the brilliance is the Spinnerbeanies here in Seattle threatening their own kids with fulfillment of the wizard trick. It's American intelligence has come to be a contradiction in terms. It's a really good idea to get the better of it, gentlemen and ladies.